My guest today is not only a very dear friend that my wife, Carol Joy, and I have known for many years, but she is an insanely successful real estate investor. She has raised millions and millions of private money. In fact, she's got a big problem today. She's got more private money than she even knows what to do with. And she started investing in real estate all the way back in 1996 for years and years. She was a occupational therapist, and she was over a number of clinics. She was working 80 plus hours a day, single mom, two kids, holding it all together while still yet doing real estate investing. And I mean, just an example of her phenomenal success is just last year, within a 90-day period, she bought 25 houses with none of her money. And so, what you're about to hear, and you definitely want to stay to the end of this show, you're going to learn how she was able to navigate a full time job, do a bunch of real estate investing, and then retire from the day job, go full time into real estate investing. And a lot of it due because of being in this world of private money. And with that, I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Crystal Baker. Crystal, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jay. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here today, Crystal. And, on today's show, we're going to be really diving in about private money and from your perspective, what private money has meant to you, how you've used it in your business and all that kind of stuff. So if you're ready, I say, let's jump in and let's go.
Let's do it.
So first of all, what did your business look like prior to coming into this world of private money?
It was very traditional, very dependent on the banks. So I would go out, get a traditional mortgage. Because I was doing it as a side hustle and was working full time, I would actually move into the house, rehab it, and then sell it. But all the legwork was in getting through the process of getting a loan from the bank, all the things tied to that. And then obviously being able to get my offers accepted, because clearly it takes a little longer when you're working with the bank. It's not like working with private money at all. So very, very, very different.
Yeah. And prior to private money, in addition to working with traditional banks, you also did what was called some terms deals, right?
I did a minimal amount before coming into private money. Yes.
Yeah.
I had a couple under my belt when we started this adventure.
Right. And so what's your definition of a terms deal, buying on terms?
It's when I don't need to bring money to the table. The financing is either existing financing that may be in place for the seller and or offered by the seller as in owner financing. Of course, lease options fall into that as well, but I don't typically use those as part of my terms, but they would fall under that umbrella.
Yeah. So in your journey, what was it, or at what point did you decide, in other words, that like enough is enough and that what you were doing just wasn't working and wasn't getting you to where you wanted to get?
I guess because my story is that there was actually a transition period where I realized that I needed to do something different. So I couldn't live the lifestyle I was living anymore. It was just exhausting. I wasn't raising my kids. The daycare was raising them. And so I had started on this adventure of trying to figure out a different way to do things and navigate the real estate investing space post 2008. But in addition, that I guess it wasn't that long into it, probably only about 3 to 6 months into that adventure did I realize that without the private money, without, having alternate means of funding deals, that there were deals I was missing out on. So it didn't take long to figure it out. It just took me a little longer to get myself to where I needed to be to go ahead and pursue that. But once I realized and then got connected, I actually attended the event and started down that journey of private money. But it was very evident that it wasn't going to work in the traditional means that I was using.
Yeah. So how did you get started in even using private money?
I went to a training, and you actually were speaking at the training. So I tried to run you down in the hallway before getting on the elevator. I tend to be a fast walker, just like I'm a fast talker, to move along quickly. So I literally knocked him over, not down, but knocked into him. And we rode the elevator together. He spoke at the event there shortly after. It was very kind and delightful in the elevator. Had no idea who was going to be the next speaker, but was slightly embarrassed, or more than slightly. But what I heard you say meant so much. It made so much sense to me. I thought, how in the world can I continue forward if I don't pursue this? So it was at that point that I really realized, okay, this is it. This is where I need to go. So I actually heard it from you.
Yeah. So this was some years ago, but what was it that you heard about private money that just really gave you that aha moment of, yeah, I got to get in this world of private money? What was it that struck a chord with you that turned on the light bulb?
I think there were a couple of things. The primary was when you asked the question, are you missing out on deals? And the answer is, well, yeah. Not everybody, and we know this, a very small percentage of people, and I'm a great converter, I think, compared to the general public, but still, there's not, it's not as if the majority are going to accept a terms option. They're going to look at that and go, well, that's not really what I want. They want cash. Well, when there's a cash offer that's needed and you don't have the cash to do it, and or the only option you have is to go get a traditional mortgage, which may as well be not having the money, you're going to miss out on things. And that was my first driver is, yeah, I'm missing out on things. This is a very different way to look at it. And then secondarily, just getting out of the minutia of dealing with banks and really recognizing that there was an alternate way to do this. And then finally, knowing that I could help people that were in my network, that are in my community, blew my mind. The idea of being able to help someone that they can get their money working for them just was like, that was such an aha moment. So I'd say really between those three things, that was what really did it for me.
So when we're talking private money, what do we really mean by that? What is private money?
Private money is literally an individual like yourself or myself that is able to loan from either their investment capital or liquid funds. So it's not somebody it's never an institution. It's not generally someone who has any experience or has even heard of this. It's typically someone who's just an individual person that has capital that isn't making them a high rate of return safely and securely.
So what do you like about private money? You said you were just really done with, traditional banks and institutions. Why do you like private money better than traditional banks?
Gosh, that's a list, but one, it moves quickly, right? Two, there's not a qualifying process. So I'm not sitting around with this person sending back and forth hundreds of documents and trying to come up with all this information. And it's literally the key information that they need, and we're ready to go. It's just the fact that I am not giving the money to a bank, to an institution who's already large and already, I hate to be like negative, but taking advantage of people, when I can give it to somebody who really could use it. Somebody that, my gosh, it can change their life, their retirement years. It may mean that they could send their kiddo to college without the burdens of loans. I mean, so there's just so many aspects to it that are really phenomenal. But just and the rates of return in the program is set by me. Banks don't set my program. My lenders don't set my program. It's my program. I share that with them, and it gives them all the things that they need, but I'm setting it up. So that's really important to me.
So I think I'm hearing you say that private money really puts you in the driver's seat of your business, gives you so much more control. You mentioned a moment ago that things move so much quicker. What do you mean by that? Things move so much quicker.
I mean that rather than trying to get a traditional mortgage, wherein it literally is back and forth, and I mean sometimes it can take months depending on what they're missing or what they need. I literally, once my title work is done, I just have to tell the lender, and it depends if it's in a self-directed IRA or if it's a liquid capital, but essentially they just need to see the notes. So the promissory note, deed of trust, wire the funds, and we're good to go. So depending on how long your title work takes, you're ready to move within a couple of days, 24 to 48 hours. That's it.
So realistically, how fast can you close a real estate deal using private money versus 45 days or a month or 2 months?
7 days, realistically. That gives time for everybody to get their pieces, parts done. Obviously, the attorney's office, the title company, and then get the notes out and the wires done. That's it.
So you can close in 7 days. Why is that important to you or any of the parties involved to be able to close in 7 days?
Yeah, so typically when someone is in a position where they're having to sell, and we deal, you and I and other investors we work with, we deal a lot with people that are in crisis. So typically it's not like they have this big plan and they, oh, well, if it sells, don't care. I mean, they're not thinking that way. These are people that usually have a need. And if we can get that taken care of for them quickly, that's just all the faster they can move on and get on with their lives. They can have the money in their pocket. They can be moving on. And the stress of whatever this involved is now over, or at least this part of it. So that's really incredibly important. And then in addition, clearly it makes that an easier decision for them in terms of accepting a deal, because if I can come in and I can get it done in 7 days, then they can make a decision that makes more sense for them. Generally, they're going to choose that, right? They're not going to say, well, sure, I'll wait for the loan that might take 45 days or so. And then how many times do those fall through? Unfortunately, more times than I can count. So it's very important for both of us. It takes a lot of the stress out.
So are you saying being able to close quicker? First of all, do you get more offers accepted by being able to offer to close quickly?
By far. Absolutely. I have no doubt that that's a huge driver, because they're turning down other offers.
Right. So let me go back and unpack, because you have just said, you've just given a lot of nuggets so far. I heard you say that private money is doing business with individuals.
Yep.
And not banks or institutions. That includes hard money lenders. So what's the difference between private money and hard money? As real estate investors, we hear those terms just thrown around so much, like interchangeably: private money, hard money, private money, hard money. Yeah. So what's the difference? What's the cons? What's the pros?
Sure. I mean, there's a multitude of differences. I think, the first piece, as you just said, it's dealing with an individual vice and institution right from the very get-go. And I hear this a lot where people will say, oh, well, it's, it is private money. Well, and then they start telling me facts about it. And one of the things that they tell me is that the people are charging them points. Well, that's not private money in our world of private money. Now, it might be somebody that has built their own private lending program, and they do that. But traditionally speaking, the way that we look at private money, that would not fit under the umbrella of private money. So my lenders don't charge me any points. The interest rate is the interest rate. The institutions set the interest rate. My private lenders do not set the interest rate. I set the interest rate. I tell them what I'm going to pay. When it comes to how the aspects are handled, understanding that there's a lot of similarity, if you will, in how we treat our private lenders. So for instance, the bank takes out a mortgage and they have a lien on the property. We do the same thing for our private lenders. So there's similarity there. It's just that we use that as a means to secure their funds and give them that equity cushion. And then honestly, and I'm sure that I could go on a laundry list. You should have asked me, I would have written my whole list down. But from dealing in this space so long, the terms that are set are the terms that we set, not the terms that an institution sets. So for instance, how long are we going to borrow the funds? Do we have the opportunity to recollateralize the funds? What does it take to do that? With our private lender, it literally takes, and no appraisal is required by my private lender. So it takes me saying, hey, this is the CMA or ARV after repaired value from my realtor, and this is your equity cushion. This is how much I need to borrow. Are we good with that? And we can just do a quick modification and off go the funds somewhere else. There's so many facets where it's just people dealing with people. And whenever you're in that situation, things are easy. There's so much more complicated when you have all the layers that come with an institution. There's so many different hands in that pot. The right never knows what the left is doing. It's amazing the different questions they come back with, and the other person has already asked for that or 12 times had it. That just doesn't happen in private money. It's a person. It's an interaction between us. And it's a method by which to create win-win-win situations.
Crystal, the conversation and the information you're sharing is so foreign to so many real estate investors. So let's give a gift away right now.
Perfect.
I'm so excited. I just finished writing the brand new private money guide that Crystal's talking about, where you set the rules, you decide on what the interest rate's going to be. And this private money guide that you can download absolutely for free is called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business and Help You Build Incredible Wealth. So if you want to take control of your real estate investing business, have all the cash that you need for all the cash offers, then you can download this private money guide to get you on the fast track. Whether you're brand new, a wholesaler, you want to stay in some deals, or you're a seasoned real estate investor, you can download this absolutely for free at www.jayconner.com/money guide. That's Jay Conner with an ER, Jay Conner, JayConner.com/money guide. Download that right after the show and get on your fast track to private money. So, Crystal, here's one thing that I know is a popular question. And the reason that this world of private money is just so foreign to, most people walking around. You said a moment ago that it's completely unlike borrowing money from the banks. When you were borrowing money from the banks or hard money lenders, they made the rules. In this world, you said you make the rules. You set the rate, you set the length of the note. Well, how in the world does that work with an individual that would agree to do that? In other words, where do you go to find individuals that would do this kind of deal, allow you to set the term, you set the rate, and all that? Where do you find these people, and who would agree to do that?
So you and I use the term warm market. And what we mean by that is these are individuals that know and trust us. And that's really where you start. So you don't have to, for all intent and purposes, you don't have to go anywhere. You're talking to people that you talk to on a day-to-day basis, friends, family members, those people in the community that you're close with, people that you network with, that you have a relationship with. So anyone that you have a relationship with is a potential private lender. If they have funds that they're not happy with the rate of return and or aren't getting the kind of security that they need, they have an opportunity to invest with you. So it's you're not going anywhere. I think people have this perception that you have to go find people. The people are sitting right in your community. They're sitting at your table with you, if you will. And so it's offering that opportunity. And like you and I have spoken about many, many times, is this is a gift. As you said, most people don't know that this exists. So to be able to share this, it takes nothing, because it's just like sharing that you had the best meal ever. You're not going to go hide it. So when we have an opportunity like this to share with people, we're going to share with the people that are close to us, because we want them to be able to benefit from what it is that we know.
Absolutely. I got a question for you, Crystal, that I've never asked you. Here's the question. I want to know, what did it feel like? How did you feel when you were able to break through, finally realize that private money was the thing that you were missing in your business?
It's freeing, right? So I think, the gift that any of us have is freedom to choose to do whatever. And I feel like the greatest gift is time. And so being able to implement something like this that can change your life it's amazing. It just opens up a whole new world of possibilities. There's so many things that you think of that you can do that just didn't occur to you before, because before it was push, 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 fight through this, try to get that, try to shift this that way. And I'm a creative brain, so I love that to a certain degree. But when it comes to points where you can't help people, it hurts. And it also affects you and your business and being able to support my family. As we all know, I have 2 little people that I take care of by myself. So just really a beautiful experience of just that freedom that you just can't experience otherwise, because you don't have that many choices. This opens up all the possibilities.
So when you first started raising private money, did you initially, and maybe you did and maybe you did you initially feel like that you were chasing people, trying to sell people on an idea, or did you start right out the gate of, I'm just going to teach them what this is all about?
So I wish I had been evolved enough to say that it was easy, and I just felt that way. And I didn't second guess it. But that would be untrue. And to me, it's really important that other people understand that it wasn't that easy for me, because if you've ever experienced this or you're looking to do this, you may have that same feeling. So I want to be transparent and say, I struggled in the beginning because I really did feel like, and I'll tell you why. It was because I had a need. I needed private money. And so I was thinking about myself and what did I need to make happen in order to take this next step in my life and in my business and move forward. And it was recognizing that I had a gift to give to someone else, that there was a service, that I stopped feeling like I was chasing or begging. And I would say that I didn't really ever do that, but the perception was there for me. So being able to release that and say, oh my goodness, I'm just sharing like the most amazing information and an opportunity that others just won't have. That was when I crossed the bridge, and it wasn't about, feeling like I was trying to sell someone or, there's no sales. It's all about service. It's all about serving someone else.
How long did it take you to go from that feeling of, I'm trying to talk somebody into something, maybe you feel desperate or felt desperate because you had a deal and you needed private money or not, but how long did it take to go from the feeling of, I'm desperate and, it's, I need your money, to, hey, I've got a program, I've got an opportunity to where you can make really high rates of return safely and securely. And if you're interested, great. If you're not interested, that's fine too.
I had the great pleasure of being able to work side by side with you in learning this process. So that was truly a gift to me, in that we had a session where we talked about some of those things that were, a struggle, right? With overcoming the mindset of it and really getting to a better space. So it took me about 3 months. So I spent about 3 months sort of cycling in that space, struggling internally. It was starting to reflect externally, not wanting to take action and things like that. And really taking ownership and flipping the script and recognizing I can just bring my servant's heart to this. I don't have to need anything, because this is such an opportunity. What's the downside? I'm not asking someone to go sign up for, some pyramid scheme that I know they're going to get taken advantage. I know that I'm putting people in the best position possible. And I share that in that one of my early private lenders was my parents. So who's going to drag their parents into something terrible? They're not. They're going to put them in the best position possible. And that changed my life and my perception. And to be able to help people that are struggling and that are that close to you, you can't help but want to share this with as many people as possible. So I guess it was that early window. And then once I recognized that I wasn't thinking about it right, then it was entirely different.
You mentioned a moment ago that you view in talking with new potential private lenders that you really have a gift for them. And explain that a little bit more. Go a little bit deeper. How is it that private money or offering an opportunity for someone to be your private lender, how is it that that is a gift for them?
So I'm going to go ahead and use an example because I think that best illustrates what I'm trying to share. And that is, when I learned about this, I went and I started talking to the people that I knew, and I shared it with my family. And my dad went through at a place that was near his retirement, went through the crisis that was in 2008. And so he had basically everything tied up in his 401k. And he had lost a ton, and he'd worked so very hard. My dad was a journeyman's machinist, and he literally taught me the gift of you work for every dollar. That's what you do. And when more is required, you do the more. And he went through all of that. And now he's at a place where he's facing retirement and decided he had to work longer in order to do that. And then ultimately finally made the decision to retire. But they weren't in the position where they had expected to be. So we talked about it, and he said, well, kiddo, what do you think? What do you think I can do? Because I'd like to do this. And just before doing it, my mom had gotten sick and she was struggling. And I have a younger sibling who they've always had live with them because she's had health issues. And they couldn't go up and down the stairs anymore. And they had a 2-story house. So they needed to move into a 1-story home. At that point, okay, we worked through all the logistics, got it done. Now my dad has a house payment in addition to where he was. Well, he was able to take funds, invest, and he pays ahead his mortgage based on the payments that I pay him. So one, he maintains the pride that, my dad's a prideful man. He grew up in an era where, you certainly don't ask anyone for anything. He invests, he makes money with me. He takes that money, he pays ahead on his house payment. So he's paid it down. It'll be paid in less than half the time it's expected. They've also been able to do renovations on the house to make it safer for them, to install a walk-in shower, to change the cabinet heights, things like that. So to me, there isn't a price tag. There isn't even, gift doesn't even feel like the right word. They can go out to dinner every week now because they want to. I want that for them. What a blessing. They don't have to spend every last dime and pinch every penny and worry that they won't make it to the next paycheck. They have a life that, gosh, I know that's what they had dreamed of, but wasn't looking like it was possible. And now they have that. And so that happens for so many families that we work with. Not just my parents, not just people that, not just my family, but my friends or people that I've met through friends or through networking. It's changed their lives. The way that the things were, the complexion of things look completely different. So to me, yes, that's a gift. I know that they wouldn't be able to do that otherwise. I know they wouldn't have the right security. I know they wouldn't make the kind of returns that we give them. I know that they wouldn't have the comfort level of working with someone that they know and trust. And they get to sit back and they get money, they collect checks, and it changes their lives. It changes what they can choose to do. And to me, that is just a blessing and a gift.
Yeah. The story you just shared reminds me of how Carol Joy and I have received over the years multiple handwritten thank you notes in the mail from our private lenders, thanking us for changing their retirement years for the same reason you just said. In fact, one particular couple I can think of shared that, or they didn't tell us, they told friends of theirs, and their friends told us that if it hadn't been for the private money program and being able to invest, in real estate with us, that they would not have been able to travel to go see their grandchildren. They wouldn't have been able to, like you just said, go out to eat whenever they wanted to, unless they had been given the opportunity to, get involved in this thing that we call private money. Crystal, I got another question for you. I've never asked you. I'm curious to know. And that is, you mentioned that those first 3 months that you had learned about private money, that you struggled somewhat of, you sort of felt like you were trying to talk somebody into something because you actually needed private money, I assume, for a deal. So a much even bigger and deeper question than this. Go back even to your first days of 1996. Go back to, when you really decided to get really, really serious about real estate investing in single family houses. I'm interested in knowing, what was the lowest point in your business since you started investing? And did you really ever consider just giving up and just sticking with the day job?
Yeah. The lowest point was when it was prior to this part. It was prior to private money. It was after I became a single mom. And you asked a tough one, because this one's this is a little tough. I haven't really talked a lot about this, but when even though I made really good money as a therapist. But a lot goes out when you have kids and you're trying to keep them involved in things, and have to pay for before and after care and daycare and all those kinds of things. And unfortunately, my ex-husband wasn't very responsible with money. And when he left, he had left his job. And so it was on me to try to figure out what to do. And so I had, a house to pay for, my kids, all the other expenses that were ongoing, trying to figure out how to manage some of the things that he created in debt. And so I started looking at real estate again, and I was really having a hard time navigating where I fit with all of it. Trying to figure out how to do this term stuff, which really wasn't my history. And wondering if it was ever was it going to get to a place where I just never did have freedom? I was going to have to just keep working like this in order to maintain any sort of civility, like a roof over our head, food in our mouths. I mean, and that's not extras. I turned off, we had no cable. We didn't have internet. Everything was off. And I just thought, and this sort of links into another story, but I was working so hard to make this work, and I was on my porch trying to take calls and negotiate with people, and my kids were crying and hanging on me. They followed me from upstairs all the way outside. And I thought, is this even worth it? I mean, we can make it, we'll get by, but is this even worth it? And it broke my heart, because I thought, making it meant that my kids were going to be raised by daycare. There was no doubt about it. I wasn't going to have a quality of life with them. I was on the computer pretty much 24/7. There was always someone on the phone that needed something. You don't manage clinics and people don't have needs and look for you. And that was the moment where I was like, I've got to figure out a different way to make this work that has some ease to it, that's going to make this move forward. Because I was definitely questioning the possibility. I mean, anybody that's tried to negotiate and work only in terms knows that it's tough from deal to deal to really work with people and get them to understand and to get them to convert. So yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because a lot of real estate investors that haven't even gone through the journey yet may be wondering how that goes. Some that are in the journey may be experiencing that. But on the other side of that coin, when I ask you this question, something's going to come to mind just like that. And I want you to answer just the first thing that comes to mind. What was and has been the brightest point in your real estate investing career?
Walking away from my career and being able to be 100% whatever I need to be there for my kids, travel, see things we wouldn't have ever seen, spend time together we would never have spent. I homeschool my kids. I get to hang out on a day-to-day basis. I can choose to work from home. I can go to my office. I can work from anywhere in the world if I want. And I do. We go all over. We do so many things. So just the fact that we have this beautiful life and all these experiences, I mean, even the community we get to live in, that's because of what happened. is because I knew how to do it and I could coordinate that, and I had the funds, and it was available, that we were able to live where we live, and my kids beg me every day not to move. So
That's awesome. Well, if you were starting all over again from scratch, what would you do differently in your business?
If I were starting from scratch, and one, I had the great benefit of having heard this information, I would find the money. I would get out, I would get private money, I would learn how to do it. I would hire a coach and do it, because without it, oh my goodness, left to our own devices, it's frightening. But that's what I would do. I would hire somebody who could help teach me the business, and I would start with private money. I would start there. I wouldn't lie to you and say I would give up terms. I love that that's available to me, but I would learn private money first, and I would implement that. And just having that strategy alone would make all the difference in how much easier this business is. There's so much less struggle because there isn't a struggle. You just literally are helping other people, and they're helping you to get your things done, and you're helping the seller to get it purchased in the way that they want to sell. And I mean, so it's easy. So that I would start there.
Well, Crystal, I got 2 questions left for you, and I'll let you go. So I'll tell you what both questions are. The next to the last question is, well, when is the best time to be raising private money, and when's the worst time to be raising private money? And the last question is final advice that you want to share.
So the best time to be raising private money is when you don't need private money. So, I mean,
now, why is that? Why is that?
Because here's the thing is, when you're getting ready you've got something under contract, you're working through a purchase, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to find private money to fund that deal. You want to have private money in the queue so that you can go out, find a deal that fits, get it invested, and keep it moving. You don't want the opposite to be true, because there's not any guarantee at that point, if you've just started, that you'll have it in the amount of time that you need, and or of course to meet the criteria that you've set up, the terms that you said you can meet. So the last thing you want to be is trying to find it when you've already got something under contract and you're trying to get it to a close.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm gonna let you leave the final words of advice.
So I would say, 1, trust your gut. We don't ever give it enough credit. 2, hire a coach. That's one of the, probably, if I had to say, like, the major basis for my success was getting the right coach in place. And people probably don't even know that are listening to this, but Jay, I actually hired Jay to coach and mentor me in the beginning. And that was a huge difference maker. And I had hired other coaches and mentors. So I'd say get the right coach and mentor, because that makes the difference. And then finally, I would say, lead with love, lead with a servant's heart. Always make sure that when you are doing anything, put that first. Don't worry. The less you worry about yourself, the more you're worried about others, then the less you do have to worry about yourself. Things will come together. There's this beautiful synergy to that. Do that. And investigate this world of private money, because it's so amazing how different it can make your business look. But really lead with love, lead with your heart, because that's what this world needs anyway. But it is the difference between you being successful in this space or struggling.
Well, Crystal, thank you so much for not only leading with your heart, but sharing your heart on today's show. I really appreciate it. And no doubt, people want to connect with you and continue the conversation. And you're still a very, very active investor. And